They said the Frost Queen ruled with an iron heart and eyes colder than Selvar's snow. But no one ever asked why the ice never cracked, until a Terran fell from the sky and called her bluff with nothing but a crooked smile and a broken ship. What started as a crash became a spark, and what began in silence erupted into a war that would shake the foundations of an empire. This isn't just a story about rebellion or crowns. It's about what happens when fire meets frost, and the one thing colder than power is loneliness. Before we start, please, click that card button in the top right corner to subscribe now. And be sure to ring the notification bell so you never miss a single one of our epic daily stories the moment they drop. There's a pinned comment on this video, and aliens hide the answer in plain sight. Can you outsmart them? Crack the pinned comments question to prove humanity's brain power reigns supreme. Watch every second till the end of the story. I'll be waiting for your answer. Let's dive into the story. They called her the Frost Queen, but not because of the ice in her palace walls. It was the chill in her voice, the frost that clung to her every word. Elira Voss had ruled the fractured moon of Svaris for nearly a decade. Her enemies knew her as a tactician of brutal precision. Her people, they followed her out of necessity. No one bowed out of love. Her throne sat atop a jagged platform of black volcanic stone, pulsing with geothermal heat from the moon's cracked core. The irony never escaped her. She ruled fire from within, but carried cold in her bones. Elira had long since buried warmth, kindness, and grief beneath the ash of duty. The day her brother's body was dragged from a rebel ambush, armor melted into flesh, was the day she stopped feeling anything at all. So when the unidentified Terran vessel breached Salvarian airspace and came crashing through the western sky like a falling star, she didn't flinch. She stood in the command tower, arms behind her back, watching the smoke bloom across the dead fields. Her inner council panicked. It could be a Terran warship or a spy. Look at the trajectory. Could be scouting for the Mercantile Syndicate. We should destroy what's left. Elira raised a hand. The room went silent. Bring me the pilot. Alive. The silence lingered. Then the guards scattered like dust in a windstorm. He was dragged in 3 hours later, wrists bound, face bloodied, eyes sharp. Commander Dax Mercer, according to the datapad. Earthborn, discharged with honors and shadows. His boots were melted on one side. A strip of metal had burned into his collarbone. Yet he stood straight, unfazed. Elira studied him, unmoving. He had a scar across his right brow, the kind that wasn't earned in training simulations. His eyes were clear blue, far too calm for someone facing the most feared leader in the quadrant. You always greet visitors with a concussion? He asked, tilting his head slightly. Or did I forget to RSVP? The guard stiffened. Elira blinked once. You're a Terran. Your ship was off course. This moon is sovereign territory. Why are you here? Was aiming for Avon Prime, he said. You tried piloting through an electrical storm with half your systems fried. Not ideal, and yet you survived. Survival's kind of my thing. A flicker of amusement tugged at the corner of her mouth, but she crushed it quickly. You're lucky we didn't shoot you down. You're lucky I didn't land in your bedroom. That would have been awkward. One of the guards drew his rifle. Elira lifted a finger. Enough. Dax glanced around, then back at her. Look, I didn't come here to fight. I just want to fix my ship, get out of your ice palace, and not get executed in the process. You trespassed. You'll remain in confinement until further notice. Sure, you gonna chain me to a wall, or give me a nice window view? Elira stepped closer, her voice dropping. You're bold. I've been called worse. She studied him again. This time, she saw something behind his humor. Calm humor. Honesty. No fear. For the first time in years, Elira Voss felt curious. The southern territories were a wound that never closed. Even from orbit, the land was a smoldering red gash across Svaris. Charred soil, cracked rivers, a place where the frost of Elira's rule had never truly taken hold. For years, She sent troops to control it. For years, it pushed back with blood and fire. But now, Kale Marik had returned. Alira, the rebels are mobilizing under his banner. Counselor embarked, throwing a data slate onto the polished obsidian table. He's not hiding anymore. If we wait, they'll strike first. They already have, she replied coldly. Just not with weapons. Another counselor leaned forward. Then we strike harder. Burn the south to ash. Make an example. Alira looked at the hologram of the southern camp projected before them. Makeshift structures, heat signatures clustered in groups, their weapons cobbled together from scrap and stolen tech. Not a real army. Not yet. But it wasn't the threat that made her pause. It was Dax Mercer's voice in her mind. What if you talked to him? She hated that it echoed so clearly. Later that night, she found Dax in the inner courtyard, watching sparks drift from a thermal forge like fireflies. He didn't turn when she approached. Have you ever commanded troops? She asked. Dax raised an eyebrow. Back on Earth, yeah. Before the politics got louder than the orders. If one of your cities threatened rebellion, what would you do? He shrugged. Depends. Are they scared? Starving? Or just pissed off? They've been defying me for years. And maybe they're tired of frost. Maybe they want fire. She narrowed her eyes. You sound like Kale. I'm just saying, nobody lights a match unless they feel trapped in the dark. She folded her arms. They don't respect peace. They respond to fear. He turned toward her fully now, his expression calm but pointed. Then maybe that's a problem. The words hit harder than she expected, and she hated how they lingered. 3 days later, the Frost Queen's envoy ship cut through the southern skies under a white flag. The camp was chaos contained in a crater. Smoke curled from makeshift chimneys. Children darted between scrap-built shelters, barefoot and smiling. People stopped to stare as the shuttle landed. And when Alira stepped out, flanked by guards, silence swallowed the camp. Kale Marik emerged from the largest structure, a dome patched with melted metal and cloth banners. His face was half-burned, the scars pulled tight over his jaw. One eye gone, but his posture radiated strength. Well, he rasped, voice like broken stone. The Ice Queen herself. Brought your pet Terran too, I see. Dux grinned. Nice to see you too, sunshine. Kale's eye twitched. Alira stepped forward. I didn't come for banter. I came to listen. Kale barked a laugh. You? Listen? You've ruled with silence for a decade. She didn't flinch. Then consider this a first. A tense silence stretched between them, heat radiating from the ground. Then Kale's expression shifted, just barely. Then speak carefully, Alira, because one wrong word and we'll burn everything down. As they stared each other down, frost met fire. And for the first time in years, neither blinked. The marble halls of Svaris' citadel had never echoed with whispers this loud. Word of Alira's visit to the Southern Rebellion had spread like wildfire, faster than she could contain. By morning, the council chambers were ablaze with accusation. You went to Parley with a terrorist, Ren snapped, slamming his hand against the table. Without vote, without counsel. Alira stood at the head of the chamber, arms behind her back, expression unreadable. I didn't ask for a vote, she said. This isn't how we govern. Counselor Dresk barked. My father ruled with fear, she interrupted, voice cutting through the room like a blade, and died with his throat slit in a palace built on it. Silence. Dax leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, watching the storm unfold. He didn't speak. Not yet. The doors burst open, and General Corrin stormed in, armor clanking with every step. My queen, our outer defenses just repelled a cyber breach. Southern codes. They tested our gates. Alira's jaw clenched. Was it an attack? No. A warning. From Kale. Who else? The general growled. That's it. Ren stood. You show weakness, and they press. This is what we warned you about. You give them peace, they take your throne. Are you suggesting treason? Dax's voice broke the room like a crack of thunder. The council turned toward him. Ren sneered. You're not even one of us, Earthborn. You shouldn't be in this room. Dax pushed off the wall, stepping forward. Maybe not, but I've bled for better causes than your power games. And I can smell a coup from orbit. Enough, Elira said, and the room fell still. She walked to the table, fingers brushing the surface. Her voice dropped. Imithgal. I looked into the eyes of a man who buried his daughter under a collapsed shelter while my soldiers marched past, who watched frost take what fire couldn't protect. And I saw a truth you've all ignored. She looked up, sharp and fierce. We are not invincible. We are brittle. No one moved. Then, from the shadows near the northern entrance, another voice rang out. Then perhaps it is time to break what has grown weak. A new figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in silver and gray, his face partially masked. Counselor Varn. He had always been quiet, cautious. Now he was armed. Dax's hand twitched toward his hip, instinct burning through his veins. Elira narrowed her eyes. Varn, what are you doing? What must be done? Varn said, voice low. Svaris cannot survive under a ruler who bows to rebels and speaks with emotion. He raised his pulse blade. Dax moved fast. So did Elira. A clash of steel echoed through the hall. Guards shouted. Loyalists turned. And just like that, the marble floors of the citadel ran red. The coup had begun. Blood streaked across the polished marble as chaos swallowed the chamber. Elira ducked a wild swing from a counselor's blade, her training kicking in like a flame reignited. She slammed her elbow into his throat and spun, catching a glimpse of Dax disarming a guard with brutal precision. Varn, stand down, she shouted. But Varn was already gone, vanished through the side doors with a squad of rogue guards. The coup wasn't just an idea anymore. It was in motion. Dax grabbed her shoulder. We need to move. This place isn't safe. I'm not running. He glared at her. Elira, they're going to kill you. Right now, your throne isn't stone, it's a target. She hesitated for half a second, then nodded. They sprinted through the smoke-flooded corridors, dodging guards loyal and traitorous alike. Alarms blared. Fire suppression systems hissed. The citadel had never seen war within its walls, until now. As they turned a corner, Elira caught her reflection in the mirrored wall. Her white uniform was stained with ash and blood. Her braid was loose, hair falling across her face. For a second, she didn't see a queen. She saw the woman beneath the crown. We have to get to the northern tower, she said. There's a secure line to the outer garrisons. We can call reinforcements. Dax nodded, drawing a blade from a fallen guard. Lead the way, your highness. Mock me again, and I'll throw you out the window. That's the spirit. They burst into the spiral stairwell, only to find 3 traitors blocking the path. One raised his rifle. Dax didn't wait. He tackled the man into the wall, smashing the barrel aside as Elira lunged forward, striking the second with a kick that sent him tumbling down the steps. The third came at her with a blade, but she was faster. She ducked, drove her fist into his ribs, and brought the pommel of her weapon down on his head. Dax leaned against the wall, panting. Remind me never to spar with you. Noted. They climbed the tower quickly, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. When they reached the secure chamber, Elira activated the controls and opened a live channel. This is High Commander Elira Voss. Internal traitors have compromised the citadel. Immediate support requested at northern coordinates. The screen flickered. A familiar voice answered. Kale. Well, he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Didn't take long for your perfect empire to crack. I don't have time for your games. This isn't a game, Elira. You came to my camp asking for understanding. Here's yours. Svaris is breaking. You can either hold it together with blood, or he paused. Let someone help you rebuild it. She stared at the screen, at the man who had once sworn to burn her world. Then at Dax, who simply nodded. She took a breath. Then let's rebuild it. Outside the tower, smoke rose into the night sky, and below them, the battle for Svaris had only just begun. The storm hit before dawn. By the time Kale's transports reached the outer gates of the citadel, the sky above Svaris had turned a deep, molten gray. Smoke mixed with ash. Lightning crackled in the atmosphere like the moon itself was angry. Inside the palace walls, Loyalist forces held what little ground they could. Varn's men were everywhere, armored, brutal, efficient. Elira stood on the ramparts, her cloak whipping in the wind. She watched Kale's forces spread across the northern ridge like a wildfire answering a call. Her chest tightened. This wasn't a peace offering anymore. It was war. Dax appeared beside her, gripping a scoped rifle. They're in position. Kale's ready to move on your signal. She nodded slowly, then glanced at him. Do you trust him? Duck sight. I trust that he hates Varn more than he hates you. For now, that's enough. A beat passed. You good? He asked. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, I'm scared, Dax. He looked at her, not with surprise, but with something gentler. Good. Fear means you still care. Just don't let it stop you. A voice came through the comms. Queen Voss, Kale said, we breach in 90 seconds. I suggest you clear your corridors unless you want friendly fire to get less friendly. I didn't ask for bloodshed, she snapped. And I didn't ask for your throne to fall apart while you figured out who you are, he replied. Let's both deal with what we got. She shut off the comm. Dax chuckled. He's got a way with words. He's got a way with ego. A distant explosion rocked the Western Hall. Stone cracked. Glass shattered. Elira didn't flinch. She turned and marched toward the Grand Hall, boots echoing against polished stone now marred with blood. Inside, Varn was waiting. He stood atop the dais where her throne once sat, a false crown gleaming on his brow. So, he said smoothly, you brought the rebel to save the Empire. How poetic. I brought truth to cut through your lies, she said. Varn chuckled. And what truth is that, Elira? That you were never strong enough to lead alone? That a human stray and a burn-scarred anarchist had to hold your hand to the end? She stepped forward. No, that leadership isn't about domination. It's about connection. Something you'll never understand. He drew his blade. Then let's see how well that philosophy bleeds. Before he could strike, Dax leapt from the shadows, slamming into him with a force that sent both crashing across the hall. Steel clashed. Sparks flew. Elira joined the fight, her blade flashing, precise and unrelenting. The battle was short. It ended with Varn on his knees, breath ragged, blood staining the stone beneath him. You should have killed me when I warned you, he hissed. You were never a warning, she said. You were the rot beneath the ice. She turned her back. Dax raised his weapon, but she stopped him with a glance. No, she said. Let him live with what he lost. Outside, Kale entered the throne room, scarred and silent. He looked at Elira, then nodded once. And for the first time in her rule, the throne room felt like it belonged to the people, not the crown. The wind over Svaris had changed. The smoke was thinning, the sirens fading. Rebels and loyalists alike now patrolled side by side, uneasy but unified under the shattered crest of a world they were trying to rebuild. Elira stood at the edge of the council chamber, staring out over the city. Fires still burned in patches, but for the first time in a decade, the frost was receding. Kale entered without knocking. Council's assembled, he said. You've got everyone, what's left of them, anyway. Even Ren showed up, limping but breathing. She didn't turn. I should have seen it coming. Varn, the descent. It was all there, and I ignored it. You weren't blind, Elira. You were surviving. She faced him now, her voice sharper. I built my rule on silence. On control. You think this city will ever trust me again? Kale smirked. No, but maybe they'll believe in who you become next. From the hall, footsteps approached. Dax leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Speech time, Elira nodded. Apparently. He looked at her for a long second, then stepped closer. Whatever you say in there, mean it. She searched his face. You think they'll follow me? He shrugged. People don't follow thrones. They follow fire. And right now, You're burning just enough." She allowed herself the smallest smile. Then the doors opened. The chamber was filled with a mix of soldiers, citizens, council members, and former rebels. Mistrust crackled in the air. The fractures were still raw. Elira stood before them. No crown, no armor. Just herself. "When I took the throne," she began, voice steady, "I believed that strength meant silence. That fear was leadership. That connection was weakness." She paused. "I was wrong." Murmurs stirred through the crowd. "I see now, power without empathy crumbles. Ice eventually cracks, and no one rules forever, especially alone." She looked at Kale, then to Dax. "These two men should have been my enemies. One burned my borders, the other fell from the sky, but they reminded me of something I'd buried." She placed a hand over her heart. "That this place, Svaris, it doesn't need a queen. It needs a voice, one that listens, one that leads with both steel and soul." Silence, then a slow clap. Kale rolled his eyes. "Wasn't me." Dax grinned. "Nope, too dramatic for my taste." More clapping followed, scattered at first, then rising like rain. Counselors nodded. Soldiers straightened. Even old Ren wiped at his eyes and pretended not to. When it was over, Elira stepped down, breath shaky. Dax walked beside her. "You did it." "No," she whispered. "We did." He bumped her shoulder. "You planning to write poetry now?" She smirked. "Only if I want the city to riot again." Kale chuckled behind them. "You two are exhausting." Elira looked between them, one scar by flame, the other by loss, and felt something warm pulse in her chest. Hope. Svaris wasn't healed. Not yet, but was breathing again. The sun broke through the Svaris clouds for the first time in years. It wasn't just weather, it was a symbol. The storms that once cloaked the moon like a shroud had started to clear, and so had the tension that strangled its people. A new dawn was coming, and it didn't wear a crown. It wore scars, soot, and a stubborn sense of hope. Elira walked through the market square with no guards, no ceremony. Just her boots crunching over stone and ash. People paused when they saw her, not out of fear, out of curiosity. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Is that the queen?" "No," the woman whispered, watching Elira with something close to a smile. "That's the one who changed everything." Dax was waiting for her at the old forge, sleeves rolled, grease on his hands. He looked up and grinned when she approached. "You blend in so well with commoners. Really warms the heart. Careful, or I'll assign you to sewage purification duty. I've seen worse." She raised an eyebrow. "Earth prisons." Fair point. They stood in silence for a moment, just breathing in the stillness. It was unfamiliar and beautiful. "Kale's moving back south," Dax said. "Wants to rebuild with his own hands. Doesn't trust politicians." "He is a politician now," Elira said. "He hates that." "He should." She reached in her coat and pulled out a small data chip. She handed it to Dax. "What's this?" "Access codes. For the Svaris orbital relay." He blinked. "You're giving me weapons control?" "I'm giving you trust." He looked at the chip, then at her. "You're serious?" "Deadly." He tucked it away. "You know, when I first crashed here, I thought I was going to die in a frozen wasteland run by a ruthless tyrant." She smirked. "And now?" He stepped closer. "Now I think I crashed exactly where I was meant to." For a second, Elira froze. The woman she used to be, the one who ruled with frost and fear, would have walked away, would have built another wall. But that woman was gone. So she took his hand. "I never needed saving," she said. "I know, but maybe I needed reminding of who I was before the cold." He gently touched the side of her face, thumb brushing the scar near her jaw. "You're still her, just stronger." She leaned into his touch, eyes softening. And somewhere deep in the rebuilt square, a small group of musicians began to play. The notes were off-key, but full of joy. Children laughed. Merchants haggled. Life had returned to Svaris, not with a declaration, but with a heartbeat. Dax pulled her close. "So what now?" She looked around. We rebuild. We forgive. We move forward. A pause. And maybe, if we're lucky, we dance. He chuckled. You? Dance? Don't push it. They laughed together, the sound echoing through the warm air. And above them, the frost finally melted. Not from heat, but from something far stronger. Connection. Alira Voss, once the Frost Queen, had found her fire, and it would never burn alone again. Here is the story's end. If you enjoyed and want to watch more thrilling sci-fi adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Dive into epic battles, explore distant galaxies, and join brave heroes as they fight for survival against impossible odds. Let us know in comments if you want the next chapters to be published soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of the journey. Together, we'll keep the last light burning. Subscribe now and let the adventure continue.